Part 147. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1461. I shook my head and refused, saying, "It's okay, I have a way. You can transfer your corpse energy to me, and we'll leave now." Although I was seriously injured, I still had a trump card, which was the water-suppressing bead. If Emperor Fengdu doesn't let people go, then I will use water-suppressing beads to flood the underworld. No matter whether it is Emperor Fengdu, the 10 o'clock Yama, or any one of the 4 judges, they can't stop this catastrophe. This is also the reason why I dragged my broken body to the banquet alone. Seeing that I was so persistent, the female demon didn't say anything. She stretched out her green-white jade finger and pointed it between my eyebrows. The next moment, vast corpse energy surged towards my body. The reason why the female slayer did this was to use her corpse energy to cover up my popularity. Now that I am seriously injured, I cannot use any means to cover up my popularity. Moreover, these zombies in the sky coffin have gone crazy. If the female demon wraps my body with corpse energy, it will not help, and I will still be discovered in the end. Therefore, only corpse energy can enter the body, so that one can go to the location of the coffin of King of Hell. Corpse gas entered my body, I began to twitch all over, as if adding salt to the wound, making me break out in a cold sweat. This kind of pain was no less painful than a severed liver and intestines, skin peeling and cramps. Seeing that it was almost done, the female slave quickly retracted her hand. My legs weakened and I collapsed to the ground again. Ever since I stepped into this mysterious world, I have never suffered such a serious injury. At this moment, my face was pale, and my whole body felt like a sieve. Even raising my hand was a luxury. The female demon helped me up and said, "Lusu, why don't you take a rest first, and we'll leave later?" I gasped for air, wet my clothes with cold sweat, and said, "I'm fine, I just want you to help me leave." The Enba sighed, supported me, and walked towards the palace. I felt that every step I took was so difficult, as if there was a big mountain pressing on my back. "Lusu, actually you don't need to be so desperate," the female demon suddenly said. I smiled bitterly and said, "I don't want you to get hurt in any way because of me, even if it costs me my life, I am willing. I, Lusu, have suffered a life of hardship, my family members died tragically, and I live in a mysterious and dangerous world. But, in this torturous life, I regained my family. I didn't have the ability before, but now, I have the ability. How can I watch my family leave me? Even if I am alone, I have no regrets about anything." The female demon looked at me with a complicated expression, lowered her head and remained silent, helping me walk towards the palace. Along the way, countless zombies passed by me. Some zombies turned away without even looking at me, but some stared at me for a long time, trying to identify whether I was alive. Fortunately, the female slave and I arrived at the palace safely. The nun took me to a room, opened the door, and saw a coffin placed in the middle of the room. This coffin of the King of Hell is much smaller than the one in the underworld, it is a normal size. However, the coffin of the King of Hell is tightly closed. The female slave stepped forward and tried to open the coffin of the King of Hell. After trying for a long time, it didn't work. I said, "What can't be opened by brute force, only the chi of Ziwei can open it." After that, I came to the coffin of King of Hell, took a deep breath, and released the purple energy in my body. There was not much Ziwei chi left in my body, but I tried my best to release a little bit of it. Ziwei was submerged in the coffin of the King of Hell. The coffin of the King of Hell began to shake violently, and the lid of the coffin slowly opened. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1462. The lid of the coffin opened slowly. I stood by the coffin of the King of Hell and waited patiently, but for some reason, a bad premonition suddenly arose in my heart. At this time, there were roars outside the room. The female slayer's expression condensed, and she rushed out of the room to check. After a while, she came back. She said to me with a solemn face, "Those zombies are coming." After hearing these words, I looked at the coffin of the King of Hell. The coffin of the King of Hell was already 1/3 open, and it would take a few minutes to fully open it. The gap that was opened could not support me at all. The female demon said to me, "Lusu, you go first, I'll stay behind." I looked at her worriedly and asked, "If I leave, how will you get out of here?" The female slave smiled sweetly and said, "Don't worry, I have a way to leave. Wait for me at Jiyuntang. I will go back." In fact, I was very afraid that the female slave would lie to me, but the look on her face made me give up this idea. I said to her, "Be safe, I will wait for you to come back." The female master nodded, said goodbye to me, and rushed out of the room. Soon, I felt an extremely powerful corpse energy coming. It shouldn't be difficult for the female demons to deal with these zombies with their Taoist skills. After all, the strongest ancient beasts and immortal bones have been killed, and there are very few existences that can threaten the female demons. About 5 minutes later, the coffin of the King of Hell was half open. I dragged my seriously injured body and crawled into the coffin of the King of Hell. As soon as I lay down, a feeling of dizziness hit me. I was seriously injured, and the endless dizziness made me completely unconscious. I don't know how long it took, but I felt a chill coming from around me. I slowly opened my eyes, and what I saw was endless darkness. I should be in the coffin of the King of Hell on the altar. I tried to move my body and knocked on the coffin wall. Just after knocking on the coffin, dull footsteps were heard outside. I was shocked. Someone was coming. No, it wasn't a human, it should be Yin soldiers or Yama of the 10th Palace. Su Tianxian held back the 10th Palace Yama, and there was no chance to open the coffin of the King of Hell. At this moment, the coffin of the King of Hell opened, and a pale grimace came into my eyes. It was a Yin soldier. My heart trembled, and I pretended to be calm and sat up. The Yin soldiers kept retreating. I looked around and found that the entire altar was surrounded by Yin soldiers. Each Yin soldier held a weapon and looked at me with a cold expression. I slowly climbed out of the coffin of the King of Hell. My body was seriously injured and I took a breath every time I moved. Now I am completely unable to fight against these evil soldiers. If they want, they can kill me at any time. However, I don't know why, they refused to come forward, and just looked at me warily. At this time, 4 figures came out of the darkness. "Lusu, you made it out alive." This voice is very unfamiliar to me, I have never heard it before. When the 4 figures walked in, the expression on my face became extremely serious. They are the 4 judges of the underworld. Wei Zheng, the rewarder of good deeds; Zhongkui, the punisher of evildoers; Luz Hideo, the chastiser; and Kuiju, the supervisor of Yinlu. Among these 4 judges, I have met Wei Zheng and Zhongkui, and both of them have helped me. As for Luz Hideo and Kuiju, this is my first time meeting each other. Moreover, Wei Zheng owed me a favor, when I helped him kill the dragon. But, looking at his current appearance, he seems to be on the opposite side of me. The momentum of the 4 judges was overwhelming, and the strong sense of oppression made me breathless. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1463. Wei Zheng was appointed as the secretary for rewarding good deeds. He was in charge of good deeds. He wore a green robe and had a pleasant smile. Zhongkui was appointed as the general judge of the punishment department. He was wearing a purple robe, his eyes were wide open with anger, and his lips were tightly closed. Luz Hideo was appointed as the head of the Cha-Cha Department of Criminal Justice. His eyes were as bright as lightning, he was upright, and his actions were upright and upright. Kuiyu is the judge of the Book of Life and Death in charge of the Yin Law Department. He is a well-known figure in the underworld. He is dressed in a red robe, holding the Book of Life and Death in his left hand and the sola-dosing pen in his right hand. Zhong Kui took a step forward and said to me, "Lu Su, you can't escape. You, better give up." Because of Grandpa Zhong Kui had a good impression of me, and he was the first to come out to persuade me. As soon as Zhong Kui finished speaking, Wei Zheng said from the side, "Lu Su, you helped me before. I don't want to kill you myself, so you should just follow us." Zhong Kui and Wei Zheng's words were not sharp and their tone was not strong. They were just trying to persuade each other nicely. I looked at them both and asked, "I have a question for you both." Zhong Kui and Wei Zheng were slightly startled, looked at each other, and said in unison, "You ask." Huh. I took a long breath and said, "I already know that the underworld is not the same underworld as before, but you two are still the legendary Zhong Kui and Wei Zheng. I also know that now you are just a ray of soul is here, and the body is imprisoned in the tomb of the gods. I'm very confused. With your personalities and my understanding of you, is it possible that you also want to leave the tomb of the gods?" Both Zhong Kui and Wei Zheng have helped me, and they have also taken care of me in every possible way. They just gave me gentle words and advice, and they also took into consideration the friendship between us. Although I don't have much contact with them, but I know that they don't want to break away from the tomb of the gods, but why do they want to kill me now? Zhong Kui let out a long sigh and said, "Lu Su, you have to know that there are many things in this world that are unavoidable. Although the two of us don't want to leave the tomb of the gods, we have to do this." I asked, "Is it possible that there is something threatening you?" Wei Zheng took a step forward and said, "Lu Su, don't ask. We won't tell you anything about the tombs of the gods. I owe you a favor that I haven't repaid yet, but what I did today, it's also out of necessity." Although the two of them did not say anything valuable, I also speculated that they must have been threatened by the extremely powerful existence of the tomb of the gods. Zhong Kui continued to persuade him with good words, "Lu Su, you really can't escape today. The great emperor of Fengdu, the ghost emperor of the 5 directions, Yama of the 10 palaces and our 4 great judges have set up a dragnet here, waiting for you to appear. Although we can't bear to hurt you, we can't let you go either. Emperor Fengdu, the ghost emperor of the 5 directions, Yama of the 10 palaces," I raised a sneer at the corner of my mouth. It seemed that Emperor Fengdu had mobilized the entire underworld to kill me. "I have one last question." "You say." I looked cold and asked, "Where are my sister and the others?" Zhong Kui replied, "On this island, your master has gone to save them, but the great Emperor Fengdu, the ghost emperor of the 5 directions, and the Yamas of the 10 palaces are all there. Although they will not harm your master, but they will naturally. There are ways to deal with your master. The female slave is right. With my current physical condition, it will be difficult to rescue Huaxiu and the others, but, even so, I will not give up." Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1464. There was an unprecedented determination in my eyes. I took a deep breath and said to the 4 judges, "I will not leave with you." As soon as these words came out, the expressions of the 4 great judges froze. Zhong Kui stepped forward and continued to persuade them with good words. "Lu Su, please listen to my advice, don't struggle and leave with us. This is your fate, after all eternity, you still haven't been able to achieve that goal." I put my hand into my pocket and held the water calming beads. This was my only way to save my life now. I won't leave with you, and I won't die. You say it's fate, but I want to say that I can only end my life. It's not your turn yet. Zhong Kui and Wei Zhen had all their good words, but when they saw that I was still unmoved, they gave up trying to influence me with their words. In that case, don't blame us for being rude. The yin energy around the four great judges surged, and they pressed towards me step by step. I hold the water-suppressing beads tightly. Is it possible that I have to use this method now? Just when Zhong Kui was about to attack me, a white holy light enveloped me. I was slightly startled, and felt happy in my heart. This was the light of Shanayan, and Miao Fengluan was nearby. When Zhong Kui saw this beam of light, his expression changed and he disappeared instantly. When he reappeared, he was already in front of me. He raised his palm and struck me with one palm. I wanted to dodge, but it was too late. At this critical moment, a beautiful figure blocked in front of me. Immediately afterwards, there was a loud noise, and the beautiful figure was directly blown away. Fengluan! I exclaimed. Miao Fengluan fell heavily to the ground. She struggled to stand up, blood spilled from the corner of her mouth, and she looked at me with a worried expression. Lu Su, hurry up and get out of here with me. Miao Fengluan needed the secrets with both hands, and the divine light completely enveloped me. She ran towards me quickly, held me up, and escaped from the altar. The four great judges lost sight of me. Luz Hideo, with a livid face, ordered the group of underworld soldiers, find them at all costs. Immediately afterwards, the Yin soldiers on the entire island began to move, searching for traces of Miao Fengluan and me. Miao Fengluan supported me. I looked at her worriedly and asked, Fengluan, are you okay? I'm fine, he just stopped. If Zhong Kui used all his strength, Miao Fengluan would be killed on the spot. Zhong Kui looked like he was going to kill me, but for the sake of Grandpa Zhong, Shanghai let me go. Miao Fengluan helped me to a cave. She wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and leaned me against the cave wall. She sat in front of me, looking at me with injuries all over her body, tears falling down her face. Lu Su, how could you be so seriously injured? Now, I am covered in blood and have numerous wounds on my body, and I look very scary. I forced a smile and said, don't cry, I'm fine, I won't die yet. Miao Fengluan didn't say anything, she just cried silently on the side. There were Yin soldiers patrolling outside, looking like they were bound to find me. Miao Fengluan stretched out her hand, gently held my wrist, and said, Lu Su, let me show you the injury. I nodded. Miao Fengluan healed me last time I was injured. Miao Fengluan put her middle finger and index finger on my wrist and carefully felt my pulse. Gradually, Miao Fengluan's face showed sadness and she cried loudly. Lu Su, how could this happen, how could this happen? Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1465. Miao Fengluan cried so hard that the pear blossoms were wet with rain. I felt a little sad when I saw her and said, it's okay, I'm okay. Why is it okay? Your meridians are more seriously injured than last time. And your five senses and limbs are slowly losing their vitality. I was slightly startled. Miao Fengluan could actually notice that my five senses and limbs were dissipating. Don't cry, I'm really fine. I offered words of comfort. Miao Fengluan wiped the tears on her face and choked at me, your injury is really serious. If you don't get immediate treatment, you will die. Miao Fengluan was right. When I fought against the ancient dragon, my body was already overwhelmed, and I lost a few years of life after that. The most serious thing is that the dragon's energy is burning my meridians. I feel like the breath all over my body cannot be condensed at all, and even the purple energy has disappeared without a trace. Miao Fengluan stood up, with a determined expression on her face, and said to me, don't worry, I won't let you die. Although I can't completely cure you now, but I can protect your meridians. And delaying the dissipation of the five senses and limbs. When I saw the determined look in Miao Fengluan's eyes, I suddenly had a bad feeling in my heart. Fengluan, what are you going to do? Miao Fengluan stretched out her index finger and gently touched my lips and said, "Don't talk, just listen to me." Miao Fengluan lowered her eyebrows in thought, and then murmured, "Lu Su, I am a girl from the Luahua cave. I am destined to be alone and helpless. I was imprisoned in that dark cave for the first half of my life. Only my soul can travel." Quartet. I have seen a lot of scenery, but I have never really touched it. It was you who brought me out of that dark world. You are like a beam of light that shines into my dark world. It is this beam of light that gives color to my world. Miao Fengluan's words gave me a bad feeling. I felt like she was saying her final farewell to me. "Fengluan, what do you want to do? Don't do anything stupid." Miao Fengluan smiled brightly and did not reply to my words. She still thought of herself and said, "Lu Su, I am very grateful to you. It is you who made me live again. I always thought that my feelings for you were love. As long as I can be by your side, even if I don't have a status, I will be satisfied. I also know that in this world, no one can replace Master Tianxuan's place in your heart, and no woman can compare to Master Tianxian. But, I have figured it out these days. I don't just like you, I am attached to the life in Jiyun Hall. You, Master Tianxian, Cai Dai, Huaxiu, and Xiao He are all my family. I love being with you, I really love it." I looked at Miao Fengluan and said, "Since you like to be with us, then don't do stupid things and stay with us for the rest of your life." Miao Fengluan looked at me, shook his head slightly, and replied, "Lu Su, I often wonder what a useless person like me can do to you, until I met Longji, and she told me that I have a Shenkuo's heart, also told me what the purpose of my existence is." Miao Fengluan turned her head, stretched out her hand, gently stroked my cheek, and said, "Lu Su, let me, who is so useless, help you one last time." As soon as he finished speaking, a white light flashed in Miao Fengluan's palm, and sleepiness came over me like a tide. My eyelids were fighting, and I felt drowsy. I knew what Miao Fengluan was going to do. "No. Don't, Fengluan, don't do something stupid. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1466. Drowsiness hit me like a tide. I knew that I couldn't sleep. Once I fell asleep, I would never see Miao Fengluan again. Miao Fengluan stretched out her hand, gently touched my cheek, and said softly, "Lu Su, let the useless Fengluan do the last thing for you. You have to live well, even though the burden on your shoulders is it's heavy, but you should also take good care of your rest." I forced myself not to close my eyes, but no matter how much I resisted, I couldn't dispel the slightest bit of sleepiness until I finally fell into a deep sleep. I don't know how long it took, but I slowly opened my eyes, and in front of me was still the cave with the dim tide. I stood up suddenly. Although the injuries on my body had not recovered, I found that the riddled meridians in my body had healed. I looked around in a panic, feeling very anxious. Finally, I saw that familiar figure in a corner. Miao Fengluan huddled in the corner, as if she was afraid, and also seemed to be seeking comfort for herself. My trembling body came to Miao Fengluan. The pain in my heart made it difficult to breathe and made me dizzy. I stretched out my hand and gently held Miao Fengluan in my arms. She was dead, no breath at all. However, she was still breathtakingly beautiful. My eyes were wet with tears, and Miao Fengluan's voice and smile appeared in front of me. Her innocent face, her eyes as bright as stars, and her smile lingered in front of my eyes for a long time. People often say that the Luahua cave girls are actually the purest and kindest beings. They are as clean as a piece of white paper and like a lotus. No matter how the mud infects them, their pure white hearts cannot be changed. I stretched out my hand tremblingly and stroked Miao Fengluan's cheek. Fengluan, why are you so stupid? My voice was hoarse and I held her tightly in my arms. I didn't believe before that people don't cry or make trouble when they are extremely sad. But now, I want to cry, but I find that there are no tears. Miao Fengluan used her life to repair the riddled meridians and delay the disappearance of my limbs and five senses. But that innocent and pure girl left me forever. As Miao Fengluan said, the relationship between me and her is no longer limited to the love between men and women, but a higher level of existence, that is, family. The memory of the future seems to have begun to come true. This is how Miao Fengluan left me in my memory. Not only her, Huaxiu, Cai Dai, Xiao He, they will also die because of me. I have worked hard for so long, but I can't change everything in the future. Emotions such as weakness, numbness, and sadness filled my heart. My heart seems to have stopped beating with the death of Miao Fengluan, and now I feel like there is nothing I can do. I just held Miao Fengluan quietly, my mind went blank. Time passed by minute, and the dull sound of footsteps suddenly sounded in my ears. I don't know who is coming, a Yin soldier? Or someone else? However, this is nothing to me, I can't change it no matter how hard I try. Xiao Su. A familiar voice sounded in my ears. My body trembled and I turned my head stiffly. I saw Su Tianqian standing at the entrance of the cave in a white dress. After she saw me, the worry in her beautiful eyes slowly dissipated, but after noticing my emotions, her beautiful eyebrows frowned slightly, her face full of sadness. Master, Fengluan. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1467. The moment I saw Su Tianqian, the suppressed sadness in my heart poured out like a river bursting its banks. Fengluan Shi. I choked with sobs for a long time and couldn't say that word. Su Tianqian came to me and said softly, don't worry, the master is here. Ever since Su Tianqian and I expressed our feelings to each other, I have never called her master again. I have always called her Tianqian. But now, I feel like I have returned to the time when my family was dead, helpless, and panicked. Only this word of master can make me feel the peace of mind and security that Su Tianqian brought me again. Su Tianqian saved Miao Fengluan from my arms. Her eyes were full of sadness. After getting along for a long time, she and Miao Fengluan also developed a deep relationship. Su Tianqian stretched out his hand, picked up the magic formula, and gently touched Miao Fengluan's eyebrows. After a while, Su Tianxuan's eyes flashed with joy. There is still hope. These three words pulled me back from the abyss. Master, can Fengluan really be saved? Su Tianqian nodded and replied, it can be saved. Her heart is transformed by the holy fruit. As long as you keep Fengluan's body and give it to Longji, Fengluan can come back to life given time. I was overjoyed when I heard this, but what Su Tianqian said next made me panic. However, it is difficult to save her body, but I can do it with my power. Su Tianqian raised his head, looked at me, and said softly, Xiao Su, this matter is not your fault, but my fault. If I had found you earlier, Fengluan would not have died. But, I'm very confused. Fengluan's essence and blood can heal the meridians in your body alone, but, why would she dedicate her whole heart to you? When my meridians were injured before, Miao Fengluan healed me with essence and blood. And now the heart that has been transformed by the holy fruit is probably because of my limbs and five senses. I have no idea. I didn't tell Su Tianqian the truth, and I would keep this matter in my stomach. The reason why I did this was because I didn't want Su Tianqian to worry. Su Tianqian didn't care about this matter. She gently put Miao Fengluan on the ground, bit her index finger and dabbed blood on Miao Fengluan's eyebrows. Then, she kneaded the secret with her hands and muttered something in her mouth. The next moment, I felt an extremely pure aura spreading from Su Tianxuan's body and slowly injecting it towards Miao Fengluan's eyebrows. With the injection of breath, Su Tianxuan's originally rosy and pretty face gradually turned extremely pale. Half an hour later, Su Tianqian let out a long breath and wanted to stand up, but his legs weakened and he fell to the side. I quickly held him in my arms. Su Tianqian said weakly, "Okay, I have saved Fengluan's body for the time being. Xiao Su, you don't have to worry or blame yourself. Things are not as bad as you think. Fengluan will sacrifice his life for you. You must be worthy of her efforts, and live strong according to her expectations." I lowered my head and was silent for a long time, then said in a hoarse voice, "Master, am I useless? I thought that as I became stronger, no one would sacrifice for me, but now I find that after working hard for so long, I can't protect the people I want to protect." Su Tianqian smiled brightly, stretched out her hand, and gently held my cheek. Her brows were full of tenderness. "No way, my Xiaosu is a great hero who stands upright. He is a strong man." Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1468. But, I failed to protect Fengluan. I lowered my head and said with a lonely expression, "Although Miao Fengluan was saved, from today on, I will never see her face or voice again. I always thought that after going through so many things, I could face life and death with ease. But when life and death really came to me, I realized that I couldn't accept it. The farthest distance in the world is not between life and death. Rather, when a person disappears from your life, the memory cannot disappear. You can always recall everything you had with her. You want to reach out and touch her, but you find that all you touch is bubbles." Su Tianqian gently held my hand and placed it on my heart. "Xiao Su, listen." Su Tianqian looked at me tenderly and said softly, "Fengluan gave her heart to you, her heart beats with your heartbeat. As long as you are still alive, it won't disappear. Dong dong dong. I can clearly feel the heartbeat coming from my palm." According to legend, the Luohua cave girls can cry leaves falling into the cave. Their faces are as bright as peach blossoms, their eyes are as bright as stars, their personalities are pure, and they are beautiful and intelligent. But, in a lifetime of tragedy, flowers fall into the water, drifting with the waves, and have no fixed abode. Xiao Su, it was you who brought Fengluan out of that dark hole, and it was you who painted her gloomy life. So, live well, she will come back. Su Tianxuan's gentle words flowed through my heart like water. Yes, she will come back. Xiao Su, you have to be strong. One day, if I leave you, who will come to comfort you? So, you have to keep going, don't stop, and don't look back. I looked at Su Tianqian in my arms and asked in a hoarse voice, "Tianqian, are you hiding something from me?" "How could it be?" Su Tianqian smiled sweetly and said, "I will always accompany you, and I will also watch the sunrise and sunset, the morning and dusk, and the changing of the 4 seasons with you." I looked at Su Tianqian and made a certain decision in my heart. I said, "Tianqian, if one day I leave you, you can go see everything we longed for me." Su Tianqian was startled, stretched out his hand, gently touched my lips, and said, "No." At this moment, dull footsteps came from outside the cave. I subconsciously looked back and saw Su Fu walking in. When Su Fu saw me, he shouted in shock, "Your Majesty! You are okay?" I nodded. Su Fu looked at Miao Fengluan's body and knew everything instantly. He didn't say much, just stood there quietly. I stood up with my tired body and said to Su Fu, "I have something to ask you to do." Your Majesty, tell me. Find a Hades ship, place Fengluan's body on the ship, and then wait for us by the island. Su Fu nodded, and immediately realized something. He asked tentatively, Your Majesty, do you plan to fight against the entire underworld with one person? Rescue everyone. Su Fu's expression changed and he advised, Your Majesty, with your current body, going to the rescue alone is just asking for death, otherwise we. Before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by Su Tianxian. He's not alone, there's me. Su Tianxian looked at me with tenderness on his face. Well, I'm not alone, she's with me. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1469. Su Tianxian and I intertwined our fingers and looked at each other, knowing what we were thinking. Seeing that my attitude was so determined, Su Fu didn't try to persuade me. He just nodded and said, I'll do it now. After Su Fu left, I looked at Su Tianxian and asked, Why are you here? Su Tianxian replied, I felt it after you left the coffin, but you were extremely weak. I was afraid that something would happen to you, so I came to look for you. After listening, I nodded and said, I was indeed seriously injured. If it weren't for Miao Fengluan, I wouldn't be able to stand now. Although the meridians have been repaired, they have not recovered yet. Su Tianxian said softly, Thank you for your hard work. I smiled, came to Miao Fengluan's side, knelt down and stared at her beautiful and quiet face, and said, Fengluan, don't worry, I will definitely live a good life. Next, I will take everyone back to Jiyuntang and take you home. I have made up my mind to save Huaxiu and others at all costs. I can't just watch Jiyuntang empty and lonely. That is my home, and it is also Huaxiu's home. When I leave the underworld, I will look for Long Ji and ask her to revive Miao Fengluan. I don't know if I can survive this trip. After all, what I have to face next is the entire underworld. If my body had recovered, I might be able to leave alive, but now. I sighed helplessly. Regardless of whether I could survive or not, I would ensure that Huaxiu and others left here safely. I don't want to see people leaving me. This feeling is really uncomfortable. At this time, Su Tianxian said to me, Xiao Su, have you made your decision? Yes. It's been decided. I looked at Su Tianxian and said, otherwise, I will go alone. Your current physical condition. In order to protect Miao Fengluan's body, Su Tianxian consumed too much and his body was extremely weak. It was difficult to recover in a short time. No, Su Tianxian shook his head slightly and said, I won't walk no matter how difficult the road ahead is, I will walk with you. Su Tianxian also knew the situation we were facing at the moment. She continued, I know that it is extremely dangerous to go here. Whether we can survive is still unknown. But, I will stay with you, even if I die with you, I am willing to do so. I looked at Su Tianxian and said with a smile, silly girl, how could I let you die? I know everything you have done for me. Su Tianxian was startled and asked, what do you know? I told her everything I had seen in my grandfather's memory. After hearing this, Su Tianxian lowered his eyes and murmured, actually, I don't know about this memory. After receiving the inheritance, I remembered it. Why did you choose to sacrifice yourself to save me? I asked. Su Tianxian raised his eyes and replied, I want to know the meaning of living. When I saw a new life born into the world with my own eyes, I was surprised and confused. If life is born, why does it disappear? I wanted to get the answer from you. Later, when I saw you healthy, I seemed to understand. The existence of life itself is meaningless. It is family, friends, relatives, and all the people related to you who give life the meaning of existence. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1470. Yes, Su Tianqian is right. After my family passed away, I fell into confusion. During that time, I felt that my life was all gloomy. Later, it was Su Tianqian who took me out of the darkness and repainted the colors of my gloomy world. Thinking about it carefully, the reason why I am able to reach this point is not only Su Tianqian, but also the entrustment of my family. They told me, I must live well. My family gives me the meaning to live, and it is precisely because of this that I will not stop moving forward. I looked at Su Tianqian and said with a smile, Tianqian, do you think your original choice was right or wrong now? Did you get the answer you wanted from me? Su Tianqian replied, I have always been lucky that I saved you. Of course I got the answer I wanted from you. But Su Tianxian's words stopped, and his eyes were full of tenderness, and he said softly, but this answer is a rough idea, it is unknown, it must be written by you and me. I held Su Tianxian's hand tightly and said, okay, I believe that the final answer must be the best answer in the world. I don't know how long it took, but Su Fu came back. Your Majesty, I have found the boat. I nodded, came to Miao Fengluan's body, gently picked him up, and walked out of the cave. As soon as I walked out of the cave, countless Yin soldiers surrounded me. I pretended not to see it and continued walking forward. At this time, the four judges appeared again and stood in front of me. Lu Su, listen to my advice, come with us. Zhong Kui tried to persuade him again. I raised my head, glanced at him lightly, and said, okay, I promise you, but I have to send her away. Judge Lu's Hideo shook his head at Zhong Kui and whispered, I can't agree to him. What if he plays some trick and escapes? Just as Zhong Kui was about to answer, I interrupted, I won't run away. The person you want to kill is me and has nothing to do with her. Zhong Kui glanced at Miao Fengluan in my arms, then nodded without saying anything else. In this way, I carried Miao Fengluan to the coast of the island. There was a huge warship parked here. I carried Miao Fengluan and walked to the deck and into the cabin. I gently put Miao Fengluan on the bed, looked at her beautiful face, and said softly, you go home first, I will save you. After saying this, I took a deep breath and walked out of the cabin. Su Tianqian had been waiting outside for a long time. When he saw me coming out, he smiled at me. Let's go, I said to Su Tianqian. I held Su Tianxian's hand and came to the deck of the warship. I looked around. Wherever I looked, there were Yin soldiers wearing armor. The number was so large that it made people's scalp numb. Afraid. I looked at Su Tianqian and asked softly. Su Tianqian shook his head and said, as long as you are by my side, I am not afraid of anything. I smiled, knowing in my heart that if I go here and escape death, I will have to face hundreds of thousands of Yin soldiers in the underworld, as well as the great Emperor Fengdu, the ghost emperor of the 5 directions, the 10 halls of Yama and other divine residences. Even though there are tens of thousands of people, I will go because there are people ahead of me who I care about and care about. I said to Su Fu, remember what I told you, you must wait until everyone gets on the boat before leaving. Okay, I get it. Su Tianqian and I got off the boat, and under the leadership of the 4 judges, we headed to the highest mountain on the island.